VortiX is really solid here. What are you guys thinking about VortiX versus Anotand?
Well, I mean, Litter, we've got to begin by talking about what happened last time these two met, right? VortiX versus Anotand. I think for a lot of people, that was the biggest jaw dropper of the entire group stage. Anotand running away with it 3-0. A lot
Yeah.
of questions came to the picture after that. Is VortiX weak? Is Anatan just being underrated right now? Like, do you have an angle you lean into that you've noticed here so far, Litter?
I think it really comes down to identities. Anathan finally found his identity and he's found success with it. And that success motivates him to keep going. And I think now he believes that he can take out these big names, which is always a big step for these up and coming players. You match up against an RTS legend like VortiX, Lucifron. And I'm not just talking about this tournament in particular, this has been a progress for him. But you match up against these RTS legends. You come in, you take one game away from them, then it becomes two, then it becomes a set, then you start dominating sets, and that just keeps fueling your confidence. And you no longer get shaky going into a set against them. In fact, you are no longer the prey, you're actually the hunter. At the same time, you look at VortiX, and I feel like, especially with this current map pool, I feel like it doesn't really play to his strengths that much. Well, maybe except for the water micro. And at the same time, I feel like VortiX didn't, and that kind of the same applies to Lucifron as well. They're playing the same AOE IV that they've played a year ago, which is a really good AOE IV. But, we talked about this a lot. Competition stepped its game up. Is 2023's AOE IV enough to win in 2024? I think that's the question that we have to answer.
I mean, it's not just that, right? It's like, the drafts, I feel like they're more important now than ever to a certain degree, with mirrors not being possible anymore. And to that whole war point, Winston, straight away, I see Anatan. Somehow, Juji was just left in reserve until the very end, right? He picks up the very end after banning away from VortiX. That almost feels like that's already taking away what should be VortiX's easiest map to win on.
We'll see. I always
Oh,
put the Spanish Bros kind of on another level on Water Micro. We saw it earlier today with Lucifron. I would be highly surprised if Anotand is just gonna like wipe Vortex on water. I think he's always gonna make a water map competitive, right? So even with the Civ advantage, potentially, I mean, I guess we're gonna see Order the Dragon from Vortex on Archipelago later.
yep.
Even with that matchup, I still probably favor Vortex just from the history of it, but I'm going to reserve any more judgment on this matchup. I just can't wait to see these players play in Anotand. I'm really hoping for him. This would be really cool.
It's going to be an exciting one. A best-of-5 elimination series between My Insanity's Anatan and VortiX about to kick off. Reminder, folks, going into this, Anno has only ever beaten VortiX once in competitive, in the group stage already. Can he do it again? Let's find out.
Spawning in on the southern part of the map, it's going to be Anotand playing as the Ottomans in red. On the other side, it's VortiX playing as the yellow Iobids. And SKP just highlighted, Anotand's first ever competitive set win against VortiX happened in this group stage. And it wasn't just a simple win, it was a 3-0 win. But today, one of these two players will be eliminated. The big question is, can VortiX avenge that previous defeat and make it to the quarterfinals?
Indeed. We have the military school opening here for Anotand. Something we just saw prove you don't necessarily need to win a game as Ottomans. You don't need a military school early, but Anotand obviously going to be going with the meta build, where you built it right away. So some spearmen out early. This can do several things. This can harass the opponent. You can push deer, as we've seen in the last while. Definitely some options. VortiX, on the other hand, with the House of Wisdom, probably going to see the reinforcement wing here. Maybe we'll see an eco approach. I'm curious. I think there's lots of ways to play Ayubids, but we've been kind of staunchly in a single meta for a while now, and he's not building it. He's placed it.
I feel like one of the things that to look out for here on Gorge, a map that we haven't seen so far today, one of the things to look out for is that your resources often spawn to the front.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the Iobits playing along the berries, playing for the gold as well, there's a lot of harassment potential coming out of the Ottomans.
Yeah, we'll see if this harassment functions, though. I mean, the spearmen can do a little bit. The gold It's hard to tell with the hill, because the hill can be deceiving to your depth perception, right? I mean, at least for me it is. I'm not exactly sure if that's in range, but it's going to be hard for the Spearman to do too much, especially with some Desert Raiders on the field. Pretty sure they'll very comfortably just range it down, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be one of the best and most annoying units to deal with on a map like this. Desert Raiders, wide open map, a lot of harassment potential, and as much as we talk about VortiX's resources being to the front, same applies for Anotand. His gold and berries are very close to each other, both on the front. This is a
Yeah.
perfect target for Desert Raiders.
Yeah, that could become a big issue, actually. We'll see what the plan is, though. Usually, we'll probably just see an instant range built from Anotand when he hits Feudal. But we'll have to get the berry landmark, probably. Oh, trade network again. Interesting. Been seeing a lot of
That's-
players favor this. It's an interesting development in the last couple months. I quite like it.
Yeah, this is kind of a new line way of playing Ottomans. And to be fair, there is some merit in this if you think about it. That gives you passive gold income. Of course, the alternative would give you a bunch of berries to work with, but especially you being able to just summon a bunch of sheep off Vizier points, and in general, being able to buffer up in case you get pushed away from the berries. Compare that to the fact that you get pushed off gold. The fact that you have no gold access is just catastrophic. So having that backup in the form of the Salt Honey trade network and that passive gold income from the traders, it's actually very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense, right? It feels like it also synergizes better with VPs, like you said. If you get a bunch of food, you can't, like the sheep Anatolian Hills doesn't feel as meaningful, and the trade bags also doesn't really do much. But here you have two options now for economic scaling, although I don't think you get trade bags just for the 3. But I mean, if you fill it out, it can start to be worth it to think about picking up trade bags early on in the game. And the VortiX is going to spot the deer push and start killing a few.
Bit of a harassment coming in here. Scout is low for VortiX, is gonna get pushed away, but here comes the first Desert Raider. And this is a unit that can switch between the ranged and melee modes, so this Spearman should never catch it. Indeed, the range mode is gonna be utilized against the Spearman. Scout is gonna get debuffed and gets beaten up in melee. And we know how much VortiX loves to micro these units, so he's gonna micro the heck out of that Desert Raider, while also looking to age up the Castle Age.
Yeah, it's going to give him a really comfortable cushion here, right? Did get the deer pretty close, and he's getting more bit closer now. The outpost not giving him the most protection. But it will let him get... Oh, these 4 deer are getting quite close to the TC. That's a cozy push.
What's concerning for Anotand here is that his military school hasn't really produced anything valuable. It's 3 spearmen we're talking about. He had to invest into a tower here, and VortiX pretty much has the resources he needs for Castle Age in like a minute or so at maximum.
Yeah, we'll see if he goes for the advancement wing or the eco wing, right? We've seen players go for growth and get a bunch of vills, or they prioritize the speed here. I'm not sure if VortiX needs the speed here. And I kind of think it would be better if he just went up with vills. Would it not?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I could see either of those working. It's gonna be Camel Lancers, no matter what. I feel like he's gonna try to do Camel Lancers. Maybe Dervishes could be an idea here for him.
That would be interesting. Yeah, scooping up the relics makes a ton of sense, especially when your opponent is very immobile with just a couple units. Anotand playing a bit of a slow game here. Hasn't really showed his hand, hasn't really committed to anything just yet. We do have the eco wing, so growth coming in, bunch of vills about to boost this economy. How did VortiX do on the berries? Usually when you go growth, you want to leave a bunch of berries at like 1 each, 1 food. 3. That's a bit more food saved. Interesting. Spearman moving forward. Not too much for them to do, though.
Yeah.
Well, the gold doesn't have a tower on it, right?
Yeah, I feel like the big question is how bad are these spearmen are. I think they took some damage here, and there is a second
does have a
desert
tower.
raider out there. Yep, look at that. He's focusing down the archer, and once the archer is gone, the spearman should be repelled as well. Castle Age is on the way for VortiX, though.
Yeah, really comfortable position, I think, for VortiX. The Vil boost is just going to make his economy so much better than Anotand's. And Anotand's economy, though, I mean, he's going to be going for MIA here, surely, right?
To his credit, he caught up very nicely in terms of Castle Age timing. Like a minute or so ago, he had basically no resource bank. He's going to lose his scout here, but at least he's not going to fall behind that much in Castle Age timing, and he's going to have the Imperial Armory out there. He doesn't have any imams out, though, to start going for the relics, though.
Yeah, I believe... What VP did he pick? Can we check that again?
It's cool to have a UI element like that, right?
Yeah, it's really nice. Oh. Ah, Anatolian Hills. Okay.
He hasn't really touched his berries, by the way. He's got a lot of berries that are totally untouched.
Double stable Camel Lancer, as has become tradition here for Eubits. Camel Lancers are such a solid unit, and we'll see what kind of harassment these do. Looks like the Castle Age is, like you said, not too far behind for Anotand. We'll see what this really looks like in practice, if he's able to... His units alive against these Camel Lancers, because they can charge from afar and deal a lot of damage to the economy if they are able to dive. We don't have the ranged armor upgrades, though, so it doesn't look like VortiX is really thinking, oh, I'm going to have to dive economy now to win the game.
Yeah, Anotand is making Lancers, though, and I'm not a big fan of that. Janissaries, it sounds a lot better. Maybe Lancer plus Janissary combined could match up well against the Camel Lancers in a direct fight. But I don't think a direct fight is ever going to happen here. That's not VortiX's goal. His goal is to just raid his opponent back to Stone Age here.
Yeah, his goal, I think, is to macro here a bit, right? He has a huge Vil lead from his landmark. And I think he just wants to chill, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he wants the relics, and he wants to raid. Like, we're talking about VortiX here, Winston. He wants to micro his units.
here comes
Yeah, there
the
we go.
charge. Oh, big charge comes in.
Janissaries are being targeted down. It's doing a really good job against those Camel Lancers, though. Look at the firepower on those Jennies. But he does get away with that one Camel Lancer, and he does have a Dervish. He's gonna heal this back up. What a lovely piece of micro over here from VortiX.
Yeah, those Janissaries really doing the business, though. That's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage. And the problem for VortiX is that everything that he has gets hard countered by Janissaries. Desert Raiders too. So he's going to make a hard switch into what could just be foot archers, maybe?
Maybe. We'll see. Triple range against double range stable. Middle school, though, pumping out man-at-arms at the moment, too. Interesting. Anotand has a little bit of everything here. Oh, but the Imam gonna get caught here, but there's 4 Janissaries to defend. Who's catching who? Ooh. The damage comes in from these Janissaries.
VortiX was a little late attacking these, and those Janissaries got a couple of freebie hits on him. At least, I think, you know, he didn't even take out the scout. This was terrible for VortiX. Those Janissaries were absolutely obliterating him. Now he's catching the scout, though, as Anotand is just looking to intercept the dervishes. To be fair, Anotand is doing a really good job catching up with the relic count as well. Like, he seemed to be a lot more behind in Castle Age timing than he ended up being. And it seemed like he was going to miss out on most of the relics. He might actually have maybe even 2 relics. 1 is guaranteed now, but he could potentially get a second one.
Yeah, that would be huge for him if he's able to. He did send the Imams in order to get some tempo and not have to wait for the mosque to finish. But we'll see if he's able to send this Imam over there and grab it. He's got the Janissaries to protect it. Seems like it's going to be tricky for VortiX to grab a 4th relic here. I don't really see how he navigates over there and grabs it, especially with that Mangonel now on the field.
Yeah, that must be a win for Anotand. And to be fair, I think that has been the theme of this game so far. It looked very convincing for VortiX, but it's not like Anotand got shaky or anything like that. He is going to have potentially 2 relics, which is reasonable when you match up against dervishes. He repelled the initial wave of camel lancers. Big problem for him though is that he only has 4 Janissaries, so it's very easy to eliminate those hard counters to the camels. Nice little snipe.
Bonk. Whoop. Okay. Thought for a second we were leaving him alive, but no. Man.
A bit of a raid to the north. It's a Meter and a Lancer. Met by 2 Camel Lancers, though. This is not going to work for Anotand. And then this is why Camel Lancers are very oppressive. You're trying to run circles around the Iobit base, but guess what? They just run circles around you with a hard counter to your cavalry.
Yeah, the first mangonel has been out for a minute from Anotand, and we already have Siege to counter that from VortiX.
Including a Springbolt as well, not something that Anotand has.
Yeah, so this mangonel from Anotand is going to have to back up, but we'll see how this goes. Pushing forward is VortiX. He's got almost double the army. He's got dervishes to back him up.
I think the concern for Anotand is more about the army value. If the Janissaries are gone, and they could be gone very quickly thanks to the Mangonel and the Archers, those Camel Lancers will obliterate him. Janissary is a little mispositioned here. Mangonel could get a shot on them. Falling
The
back.
Archers
Archers diving deep.
Oof.
Bit of a flank here by a single scout, apparently trying to beat up the Springbolt. Nice Mangonel shot on the other side by Anotand, though Archers do get repelled for the time being. And the Janissaries have been held back. They are finally unleashed, and they do focus down the camels. Anotand is breaking out. He takes out the Mangonel, but he loses some of his Janissaries. I don't know how to call this, Winston. Who ended up having a better setup of this?
I think Anotand came out ahead here. That was a great fight for him. He didn't lose Siege. His Janissaries were in the back. His micro was really on point. It looked like VortiX was trying to bait it out, but Anotand was able to repair the Mangonel for quite some time against the Springald, and then VortiX kind of had to panic because he thought that Mangonel was going to go down, but it didn't. So suddenly his archers are under this tower thinking he's going to kill all the vills in the outpost, and he has to retreat, and that just got really ugly really quick. But we'll see. He's coming back for round 2. He still has a massive military advantage in terms of army size, but as you said, the quality of these units is slightly better for Anotand, to the point where the army value is almost even. Now
nice Springbolt snipe. This time VortiX has 2 Springbolts, so he insta-kills the Mangonels. Mangonel's gone, Archers can dive deep. He's looking to snipe out all of those Janissaries before he commits with the Camels, and this time around the Camels are held back. Janissaries being pushed all the way back.
Wow.
And with the Janissaries gone, there is just nothing that deals with these Camel Lancers. Even the Springbolt is targeting out those Janissaries. That is how dangerous they are. Some combat healing as well with the Dervishes. And Anotand's army is disappearing, as are his chances of winning game number 1 here. He beat VortiX 3-0 in the opening round of Masters of Realms, but this time around, VortiX is the one securing game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, that first fight kind of looked okay for Anotand. VortiX just remaxed behind this. We saw with the growth wing, we just saw that Vil count just skyrocket, and then he kept it. He kept the lead, and he showed why Vils are important, right? Vils equal economy. Economy equal money. Money equal military. Military equal kill. And I think that's what VortiX's plan was there. It worked quite well for him.
Well, a quick strike here from VortiX. Aggressive game from the very beginning, microing the heck out of those Desert Raiders. But guess what? Anotand says, listen, let's take this into a very different map. We're going into Archipelago. He's going to whip out Jushi, which is one of the best civilizations for a map like this. It was also the last civilization pick of his draft, so that kind of tells you that VortiX didn't prioritize picking this civilization. VortiX has the classic OOTD setup here, but this is a dangerous game here, Winston, I feel. VortiX loves water micro, and this might be a tough one for Anotand.
Yeah, and we've seen Order the Dragon prioritized on Archipelago almost more than Jushi, although Jushi is also getting banned a lot, right? So Order the Dragon, though, getting picked up on this map, just to me says it's clearly super reliable, and I think that's why players are liking it. Is it's not as gamba as Jushi can feel with the meditation gardens. You can sometimes get a really insane placement, like we saw earlier today, or other times the meditation gardens can feel a little underwhelming. Whereas I think the economy for Order of the Dragon just always feels really consistent, and I think that's what pros tend to look for, right? Is a very consistent build order that they can rely on.
Well, we just have 18 seconds left to go here, but a good start here for VortiX. If he ends up winning this map, Archipelago, things could get very, very dicey for Anotand over here.
Mhm.
At the same time, if Anotand turns this around, who knows what might transpire here in this series. We could be in for a 5-game series, we could be in for a 3-game series, but one thing is sure, game number 2 will take us to Archipelago.
Yes, into the sunset views as the evening winds down here in the US. I'm just super pumped for this. Oh man, what a great game. What a great series. What a great day so far, Litikor. We get kind of a breather here in the series as water builds and the opening are a little more calm after that game. What is your thoughts so far on just the day and these games we've had?
It's been a long day, despite not having many super, super long games, but it's been a very, very fun day, I feel. And each of the sets that we've witnessed were fairly competitive, so you gotta love watching competitive AOE IV right now.
Yeah, it's been a great day. I love this tournament too. I think Master of Realms is been very exciting. I'm excited that we have been exploring with EGC TV has been exploring the GSL style, and I think it showed. Like I think this tournament has just been super cool. Both players deleting their scout, and you can see capture range has no bar. Oh, that's funny. I've never seen that before. Both players with 0. Nobody has anything.
Yeah, I think I once saw like a mid-feudal game where 2 players just utterly annihilated everybody's army. It might have been one of the more chaotic games where, everybody loses a bunch of villas, everybody loses a bunch of army, and I saw this 0 versus 0 bar, but perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Yeah, this has been. It's interesting why. Like I don't know. How do you feel? Just because we have some time. How do you feel about the scout delete?
I like it because it's a strategic choice. Sure
Oh,
enough, you
yeah,
could say it's not always obvious because, as we've seen in some of the previous sets, landings, while they are not very, very common, they're an option, especially when you play against certain civilizations like French or Jeanne d'Arc, but you never know. So there's always this balance that you need to strike with deleting your scout. In a matchup like this, you don't expect landings, so deleting your scout makes a lot of sense. But I feel like in many civilization matchups, it's a trade-off. Are you willing to optimize your build a little more, but potentially risk a landing?
I think even more than just landings, though, right? Like maybe I over prioritize this, but I really like having my scout on the edge, even just to see if there's an early ship coming. I feel like any intel is valuable because you see players on this map oftentimes go feudal age without scouting the opponent, right? And it's really hard to justify that, I think, because you're just playing blind. You don't know where they're coming from. It can mean the difference between your first Hulk being in the right spot to save your ships or having to like panic and maybe have some idle time and it's just a lot of clicks and maybe your eco macro gets disrupted a bit because you weren't paying attention as much and you had to focus on micro really early. Like there's just all that little detail there and I think it matters to have it alive, but I think I've noticed Jushi players almost always doing it. I'm wondering if there's like it just makes the build order playable like much better. I'm guessing it must with the timings. Because like the way that the house spawns, like you can delay the house another vil essentially, right? And I think with a lot of civs, it might just be really smooth to do that.
Interesting spot for meditation gardens. It's a pretty solid one, touching a lot of food, wood, and gold as well. But I think it only touches 1 gold mine, so it's definitely one of the juicier meditation gardens that we've seen today.
Yeah, that's what we said about, Jushi being a bit of a gamble, right? It's it can sometimes pay off. I think this is going to be a really good one. I don't know how much wood that is, because there's a lot of trees around that. That might be a really nice meditation garden for wood gen, which personally is what I would prioritize. I think I was talking to KP about this last weekend, and I think he was saying a lot of players prioritize gold, and he prefers that as well. And that makes sense, but I think I prefer wood just because of the way it works. And ooh, Anotand with the just passing situation. Don't mind me. I'm just here to join you.
Day 7. They still haven't noticed I'm red.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel about this Aachen placement? Really prioritizing the gold as well. Not really getting a lot of wood on that, but his map is weird.
I mean, if it touches the edge of the wood, it's gonna be fine. I don't know. Yeah, I think this is fine. Like, you could make it a little closer to the wood, but it still covers a significant portion of that tree line, and it also is going to cover both the gold mines. Now, this is a problem for VortiX. Anotand is the first one to arrive with a chunk here. Nice micro by VortiX, though, jumping in and out. You
the
can't
Vil!
really do that with the
The
villager,
Vil!
though.
Oh, she's on the run.
He's juking and diving, and that is the VortiX micro we
Wow.
so often highlight.
That was so
This
impressive.
guy is just insane.
That was disgusting. That was so good. How did he keep him alive? Oh my gosh.
That is just ludicrous. VortiX and Hawk now on the way for their respective players. And look at VortiX. He's grabbing double broadaxe, something that Anotand already has. Anotand, he kind of came in very quick into feudal age here, and he was the one to initiate most things. But he wasn't able to deliver any significant damage over here. VortiX was just so good with the micro.
Yeah, this is... It's tough. I am terrified of playing against VortiX. I feel like it's just terrifying, right? Like, how do you even, like, mentally manage that? I feel like you think you have a situation, you think it's working well, you think you have the advantage with your build, and then he's just like, nope. And that's exactly the sound I imagine in VortiX's head when he's microing. Just, you know?
And it's so annoying because you're doing all the good things, you should be rewarded for it. You beat your opponent to feudal age, you're first to their base with ships. They leave a villager on the shoreline, you expect to get a kill, and then VortiX just says no.
Yeah, it's... Gotta feel bad, man. No eco upgrades yet for Anotand either. Oh no, he does have one. I missed the color, sorry. So both players have wood upgrades. I would have been surprised, that's why I was calling it out, but my bad. It is there indeed. Too much going on. We have a very standard play here for both players so far. Except for VortiX, really cool micro.
Can we look at the gold mine of Anotand? I just want to check something. I saw a mill being built right next to the gold mine. Yep. Now, what is that for?
Is that a misclick, maybe?
I don't know. I was hoping that you have some super high-level dev insight and just tell me that I'm a pleb for not knowing.
It might just
But
be for
apparently,
Wheelbarrow.
it's not just me being confused about it.
I think it's just for Wheelbarrow, and he just had a Vil there, right? He just built it where there was space.
Fair enough. It looks
Right.
awkward. Could have used
Yeah, but-
Lumberjack.
Yeah, I mean, he's good in Wheelbarrow. I don't know. I don't know why you would build it there, or not, like, I don't know, where you're shore fishing, or on the berries.
VortiX
even. I
got
don't
3
know.
demos. Anotand only has a single junk to counter demos, and VortiX already has 4. First demo coming out, he's looking to bait out that galley.
Yeah.
But back and forth. And look at all the demos sailing up. He's looking for one swift punch to just take Anotand out of this game. Anotand has to commit his galley, but that's just one galley from the back line. Hulk's focusing it down. It's still alive. Demos creeping closer. Anotand has to fall all the way back here.
Oh, this might be a
Galley.
problem for Anotand.
Galley's
Just a
gone.
moment.
Demos are coming in, and
Demos
there
are coming
no
in.
more jumps.
Split.
Demos taking out one.
Going for the fish.
Now going for the fishing boats. Oh my lord, that was a monstrous hit. And there's
and
another
Devil's
demo
on the
coming
north
in as
as
well.
well.
Oh my. Crazy battle
my.
here, Winston. And at the end of the day, sure enough, Anotand's fleet stays alive, but most of his fishing eco is gone.
Yeah, that was a brutalization. That was a war crime. 11 fishing ships have gone down. And VortiX gets away with 3 Hulks. I mean, talk about micro. I mean, there was also strategic investment in the demos. Anotand didn't have any he didn't have enough demos to really defend against that many Hulks, and VortiX just asked the question of Anotand. He said, "Hey, you ready to micro?" And Anotand said, "Please, no. Please, God, no, please." And yeah, the fishing boats are
I
dead.
love the patience from VortiX, by the way. He didn't dive into this battle with 1 or 2 demos. He waited until he had 5 because he just wants one decisive battle. Look at the food income of Anotand, by the way. It's down to 56 per minute. VortiX could have also targeted the enemy war junks with his leftover demos, but he just went for the fishing boats, and he just completely shattered the food eco of Anotand here.
And now up with a significant military advantage. VortiX comes back, ready to remind Anotand who's the boss of water.
Once again, demos are coming in on both sides, and this is going to be some good connections on both sides, but still, VortiX seems to have the upper hand. Demo gets picked off in the middle. This one from VortiX does connect, sinks a war junk. 2 more demos are available from Anotand, but you don't see them anywhere. VortiX does have 5 demos still, and he is just going to obliterate this fleet. Quick strike from VortiX once again, and now he's leading 2-0. What a decisive game here on Archipelago.
I mean, it all comes down to that one battle, right? Like the game was literally ended in that moment when your entire fishing fleet gets taken out by 2 demos, and even at that point, it's just like you're just so behind, you can't afford anything anymore, and you're gonna have to reboom, and it's just you can't really afford that. It's your docks are idle. What a disaster there for Anotand. You hate to see it, you know, when it just potatoes like that, the micro, but like I mean, it just happens, right? VortiX asked a really he was really aggressive there. It was really hard to deal with, and his positioning was just on point and clean, and what can you do, man? What can you do? They're the best on water for a reason. And I say they because it's VortiX and Lucifron who so frequently train together on these maps, and I believe that training is the reason for their continued dominance and excellence on water maps.
Yeah, and this is what I was concerned about for Anotand going into Archipelago as game number 2. You go into the Lion's Den, essentially. We expected VortiX to be good on water, and that's kind of what we got. VortiX didn't even want to play a long game here. He just said, listen, let's have one single micro battle. I will out-micro you, and we finish the game there, and that's exactly what he did.
Mm-hmm. Now we move on to Hill and Dale. Delhi versus Roos. Anotand's Roos. Seen him play it a lot in the past. Excited to see him pull it out here, but will this work well? Roos has been a bit lackluster in this tournament, I would say, so far overall. Obviously, it's looked good in some games, but I think Delhi on Hill and Dale just has an edge, right?
I think so too. He had Mongols available, and VortiX went with the obvious Mongol counter to Delhi. I don't know what to expect from Roos here, but he might need to pull a rabbit out of his hat because he's down 2-0. We'll be heading into game number 3, which is a match point game for VortiX. He lost to Anotand 3-0 in the opening round. He has a chance to finish his opponent off here 3-0.
Mm-hmm. Excited to see it. Let's dive in here.
Producer, hello? Mr. Producer, can we get a game?
Here we go.
All right, folks. It's a 2-0 lead now for VortiX as we head into game number 3 of the Decider Series here in Masters of Realms. The winner of this series is going to get into the quarterfinals to face off against Whammo 1. Down south, it's VortiX with Delhi Sultan in yellow. And to the north, it's Anotand with Roos in red.
Indeed, indeed. And we get to see Roos on a proper land map now. It's been a minute since I've seen a tournament game with Roos on a land map. You know what I mean? I feel like it's been a while. I mean, obviously I've seen it, right? But it's more like getting to see it again. It always feels unique now because I'm just so used to it being banned out. And here we have it. Second scout, third scout. So just classic play here from Anotand. Doesn't want to give up anything. VortiX not going for the second scout here. With Delhi, generally you don't with the Muslim slaves where they get the berry bonus. You just don't need the scout as much. So we'll see. We will see. The sheep distribution looks like it's kind of okay for VortiX. Or sorry, yeah, VortiX, given everything. He should be content with this, and he's even getting his own back sheep here. Anotand missing a wolf? Hello? Okay, there she is. Hello? Anybody home? Uh-oh. Running a bit close to the
Ooh.
mill. Yeah, I know. VortiX doesn't want to idle his units there.
Yeah, this is one of the issues playing Rus on this map. The deer spawns so close to your base that your opponent is guaranteed to have his own deer pack killed. In fact, I'm not sure if VortiX did that, but it would be a cool way of playing this. Just sending your scout forward looking for the other deer pack and then using a villager to kill the deers back at home.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Deer packs galore. We do see the bounty over 80, even though there are only 3 scouts on the field. Which is always good. That song, I still think that song slaps. Do you think
It's a good song, but it's also a good meme. I think the meme is actually bigger than that.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think this is where you don't cancel wheelbarrow, although he does. It was too tight. I was wondering if he would try and keep it, but the bounty just wasn't quite there.
Yeah, this is alarming. No wheelbarrow. He's actually going to Kremlin the back of his
Kremlin?
base.
What?
That's awkward.
Is it to protect the stone and the deer? Is he going to build like a second TC here?
But if he wants to protect the stone, it could be a little closer to the stone itself. This isn't actually protecting the stone.
But you want it on the wood line too, right? It's got competing interests here. Pulled in every direction.
It's a weird call, but indeed it could be a 2TC build. I'm a little concerned for Anotand though, because he's going to face off against the Delhi. If you want to play Knights, those get destroyed by Ghazi Raiders. If you play Archers, those will get annihilated by Delhi Archers eventually. Bit of a skirmish for the bounty here. Decent value for Anotand in the end though. He's up to 275 bounty and he can finally squeeze in Wheelbarrow.
Yeah, we'll see what the plan is here for Anotand. If it's early military, it looks like he might be saving up for like a stable or something. Not quite sure what the plan is, or if he'll go to stone after this is up. I don't know. It looks like plenty of gold coming in now. He was able to find a lot of the wolves. The bounty going to be up to 300, so comfortably hitting that 250 mark. Very nice stuff from him. Able to make it work, even though we kind of doubted at the start. We were like, it's a bit low. And he does get wheelbarrow, but a bit late. But better late than never.
That's true. Talk
get a
about
building.
Wolves, for instance.
And we do see the hunting cabin here. So just hunting cabin on the hunt. What else here? You know what? That might give a lot of tempo to Delhi. If Delhi's able to get away with the blacksmith opening, which I'm highly expecting a blacksmith here. Yeah. There it is. Pops it down. Both players have deer in the back comfortably.
Yeah, he's not taking the stone though, and this is why this whole Kremlin is very weird at the back. Maybe he just wanted to protect the back of his food or something. I don't know, but it's definitely an awkward placement from Anotand here.
Yeah, with no TC in sight, I'm curious what unit he's going to make here. I guess it has to be range. Oh, is he going to go do like a boar build? Is he tower
It's only
rushing?
3 wheels. Or are they just
That's
kind of blending
5,
into
right?
each other?
I think that's 5.
Yeah, can we select that? I think they're just a little stacked up. A boar build. That's actually one of the 8 wheels.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the boar. We haven't seen
This
this
is-
in a while. So
Oh,
fortified
I was
church.
about to say that. This is a very, very old school build. This is the Rus Death Boar build. Used to be very popular against Abbasids in particular. It's basically boar, and then you go full archers. I'm a little concerned about this though, because usually what this build was useful for is dealing with very passive players who are playing 2TC. I'm not sure how well it's going to work against a player that's going army from basically minute number 1.
Yeah, it's kind of the base buster build, right? But I don't know. He doesn't have to commit to the 3 TC here. He has Hunt in the back of his base as well. We might see Horsemen from him here. I don't know. Maybe it's an FC attempt. I am lost as to what Anotand is going to build now that he has wood. He has placed a military building. I'm curious as to what it is.
Yeah. VortiX hasn't yet scouted this. He should know something is up. Maybe because the deer aren't really being taken. I think that's a clue that that he could utilize to realize that something is going on.
Yeah. Upgrades are looking good for VortiX. Everything's coming in. I mean, this is a super smooth build for VortiX, right? This is everything going to plan, right? So we just have to kind of figure out what Anotand's goal is here. If it's Knights, yeah. So he built a stable, and it's going to be Knights. Interesting.
Knights could work to a certain extent, especially as an opener. Because I guess if he harasses the enemy base with Knights, that forces the opponent to just keep investing into Gauzy Raiders. And maybe he can go like heavy on the spears plus some archers, instead of having to face mass archers on the other side.
Yeah, and the Knights are immediately scouted, by the way, I think. Yeah. So not a huge surprise here. Oh, wait, actually? I thought
Nice
those were Knights,
formation
but those are
shuffle
just
by Anotand
scouts.
to body block the scout.
Yeah, the Knight is now going to get revealed to protect gold miners. So Anotand going Knight Archers. This is a Roos classic. You know, we haven't
Yeah, and
seen
that's a
Roos play this way
proxy,
in a long time.
That should be a proxy range, right? It's not back at home.
I think both of his military buildings are back of his base by the Kremlin, right?
Interesting call if he does that. Yeah, this is in this case this is not the classic like base buster Roos build. This is just let's sneak away with a boar because my opponent might not expect it.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a ram anytime soon, for example, right? This isn't the style of build, although
Yeah.
here come the Ghazi. They're going to do kind of okay against everything that Anotand has. I mean, not great against the Knights, but going to have to retreat here. It does a decent amount of damage, and the tricky thing with this build for Anotand is when do you pull off and go castle? Because it's always an option with this macro. You can keep making archers throughout, and then you can just sort of decide when you want to stop producing knights, and then that gives you a castle timing. But VortiX is going to have 3 sacred sites. The timer's going to start ticking, and Anotand needs to get his military onto the field.
Yeah, my concern for Anotand is that VortiX probably knows that something is happening here. He saw no villagers on the hunt. He sees no second TC. I think for now he's moving towards this sacred site here, but I think he might find this boar very soon. He needs to know that something is being cooked up here by Anotand.
I don't think he has enough Ghazi yet to really dive. If there's military protecting the wooden fortress, I don't think there's really a way for him to stop it. And gonna get some cheeky decaps in. It's kind of what you have to do. You can't really fight this army head on. Gonna need to decap this in creative ways.
Yeah, he's going heavy on the Gauzy Raiders here. Anotand is going heavy on the archers. He only has 4 knights out there, and we're getting to the stage where the Gauzy Raider count is escalating to a point where the archers could get butchered. Scout does go down.
And we're seeing the spearmen switch behind this, which if we get into a big A move situation, Anotand is going to have to micro really, really well, right? And VortiX's goal will just be to A move and then position the Ghazi on the archers, and things can get really awkward. Although a lot of the Ghazi are low here.
A lot of Gauzy Raiders are low. Knights are also getting beaten up, though, and it looks like VortiX is still winning out on this fight as the new reinforcements come in. Archers are getting focused down as well. He's actually jumping the archers with the Gauzy Raiders, now turns around. Most of the Knights have been taken out, and even the militia have been called upon here by Anotand. And I think he's very close to finding this expansion here, so now he's going to know about the boar villagers. It doesn't really matter, though. The boar is gone. Anotand has finished it.
Yeah, and he could just peace out, right? But instead he's going to stay and just chop wood there. Because why not? The militia are sent to their deaths.
I
would say they're
safer to
untimely
stay than
deaths.
to go.
Yeah, I was about to say it's I would say it's their untimely deaths, but their death is timed, so maybe it's right on time. The wooden fortress not up. The Ghazi are here. There's no
Yeah.
knights to defend this. The Ghazi, though, gonna retreat. Could have maybe jumped the Vils there.
Yeah, Sacred Sight's under the control of VortiX. He already has 2. The third one was decapped. Just as a side note, VortiX walled the back of his base. So Anotand doesn't really have that counterattack potential with the knights.
I don't know if he can afford that. I think he's on the defense here. And he's going to have to retreat to the wooden fortress. It's going to get garrisoned up, but this might be just enough units, Lidicor, to dive.
Yeah, I think VortiX is just going to ignore that. He's diving onto the archers. The knight is gone. And the thing is that you have to keep retreating with the archers, but you do so by moving away from the tower. This is an ultimate cleanup in a game that could be the last for Anotand in Masters of Realms. And now VortiX is diving as well. Nothing here for Anotand to defend this tower, but he is going to lose 8 villagers here.
Yeah, 8 Vils, potentially. I mean, the reinforcements from Anotand going to have to make their way, only hoping that these repair tricks are going to be enough. The knights trying to come to reinforce. The militia called once again, but it won't be enough. The outpost going to go down, and with it the villagers, and with it likely the game, Lidicor, unless Anotand can come together with a crazy win here in this battle.
The archers weren't focusing the spearman. Anotand just ran his last knight into the spearman. And as much as he was able to take out VortiX in the first round 3-0, VortiX comes back with a vengeance. And I think this series was less than an hour long here, Winston. What a decisive finale here from VortiX. He is going to be the one moving on to the quarterfinals. And we're going to have to say goodbye to Anotand here in Masters of Realms.
What a series, Lidicor. That was domination from VortiX. I mean, my analysis is that VortiX won. I take a bow.
He won in a decisive fashion, really.
Yeah, no, that was that was every single game was just ridiculously strong from VortiX. Like every single game in this set it seemed a bit one-sided, right? On Gorge, you had the Ayubans play where the first battle looked like maybe Anotand had a chance, and then VortiX just crushed him in the second fight. On Archipelago, a single fight on water. And on Hillendale here, there were some skirmishes back and forth, but the first time that VortiX really tried to take a battle, he just lost everything. This was just a domination for VortiX.
Yeah, fair to say, slapped Anotand so hard it even took the words out of your mouth at the end of that one. I mean, it's ridiculous the way he played this, because we got to talk about this. Has been a crazy day. Because I checked it back. It's an interesting little statistic for you for the day. Little loves this statistic. I love this one. Every single rematch was a flip result. Kiljardi versus B, 5-game series the other way around. VortiX versus Anotand just now, 3-0 the other way. Dumu versus Louis, last time they met, it was 3-1 to Louis, this time to Dumu. That is the definition of an unexpected turn of events twice in the group stage of one EGC tournament.
What are the mathematical odds on that?
Oh, don't start that. All right. We got NA math, we got my math. No.
If you subtract the odds of them winning, actually.
And 20% of the time, the calculation will be right 100% of the time. But, I don't think anyone could have anticipated all these results. I mean, commiserations to VortiX. I think a lot of people had very high hopes after... Anotand, rather. People had very high hopes after what he was able to do to VortiX last time. But, I think we've got to dissect this a little bit. Maybe be harsh. Maybe be real about it. I want to get your thoughts, Winston. Is this just VortiX turning up, waking up after maybe dropping the ball earlier? Or did this not feel like the Anotand we saw earlier in the group stage?
I think this was a situation where... maybe VortiX and Lucifron both. I think maybe they were just playing other games for a bit. And now that the tournament's really on, I have a feeling that they've been practicing. Today, these two looked like they were ready. These two looked, this was like them of old. I expect them now with this level of play. I think either of them could make it to the finals here. Now the route here could be tricky for one rather than the other. We'll see how that goes. I think VortiX is going to be up against Wham.
Yep, we can have a look at the.
I mean, Wham might be shaking in his boots after this set, right? That looked pretty convincing.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I saw Wham in the chat earlier saying Anotand on current form is a top 3 player. So yeah, you might be right on that. It might be a little bit of concern for Canadians here because we have locked in our quarterfinalists here. We've got Gentleman Mates Marine Lord up against Free Clans B. We're going to have Wham versus VortiX, Beastie versus Dumu, and finally Puppy Paw versus Lucifron. You know, I've tutored a few ideas of the best series we're going to see all tournament. Are there any ones here you see in the quarterfinals or potentially the semifinals, Lida, if you want to predict that deep, that you think could be the series that take it all?
This is a tough one. I feel like, as Winston kind of touched on this before they said, we could easily have the quote-unquote classical top 8 lineup here. This is a player lineup that you kind of expected to see in 2022 or 2023. Really, it's a very, very old school setup. All the long-term big names are in there, so I feel like this is a very much open tournament. You look at, let's say, Wham versus VortiX. Wham is in a really good shape, but then you see how VortiX played today. He came in, no BS, just absolutely obliterated his opponent. How is he going to play against Wham? I have no idea. Could easily be a sweep in either direction 3-0, could be a 3-2. But one thing is sure, I feel like you look at this lineup, we've seen some really impressive sets from every single one of these players. So we could easily have any of these players getting there at the very end.
I think wasn't it last time when we were casting the other weekend, you brought up the statistics that the Spanish bros, the Canadian bros take it in turns against each other year after year.
I would not be surprised. I don't remember that stat, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I think it might have been to do with Wham and Lucifron. So at least they're kept away from each other and get some different results going.
Oh,
But
yeah. It was Wham and Lucy.
That was it. Yeah, I think it was last year was Lucifron's year, and then before that it was Puppy Paw's year, and they just kept intermingling, if I remember correctly. So interesting statistics that line up there. We'll see if it plays the same way, because admittedly there are some big similarities between the way that Puppy Paw and Wham integrate, VortiX, Lucifron as well, considering the amount of scrim they do together. But you know, I think the big standout to me here, Winston, Dumu, baking those deep runs again, right? Like I think, you know, it's been a bit of time where we've missed out on him. You know, he's fallen short sometimes. Maybe the day goes too deep, doesn't seem right. But something about this new map rotation, a new meta, it seems to be fitting Benny's style well.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's funny because I feel like almost every time I cast on EGCTV, Demu is playing on those days, and I love it. I think his games are great. I think what I saw today was definitely a very solid Demu. Like he's ready to play some Age, and I'm excited for that. I think Beastie is a very strong opponent. I think historically he's almost always had the upper hand in that matchup, so Demu's gonna have a bit of a hill to climb, but I think with enough preparation for tomorrow and the right strategy and the right mindset, I think he could come out on top.
It's an interesting thought there as well, because I know Beastie, he was kind of honest about this about a week or two ago, Lidical, where he's like, I haven't really had that much time to put into scrimming. I'm not sure how deep I'm going to go in this tournament. I mean, right now, I know he's literally sitting there playing Elden Ring. So, you know, there's got to be some question marks. I mean, maybe that's his actual secret boost up. If you remember, we had that Marine Lord, I think it was last year or the year before, where we asked him, hey, you've been practicing a lot right now. He's like, I'm just playing multiverses. Maybe stepping away from the game is the way that Beastie levels up more.
I always get reminded of this when I think about Mista. He was the one who said that sometimes it's just good to not play the game because it opens up ideas that you normally wouldn't think of. If you just keep repeating the same civilizations, builds on the same maps, grinding the ladder or grinding even the tournament maps, you often get tunnel visioned with your strategy choices. And I think you know, taking a little break from the game or just not taking it very seriously could easily have a positive impact on your gameplay. But just one more stat line here, KP, because yeah, you kind of touched on the crazy history of Lucifer and Wham. I actually ended up checking Wham versus VortiX, and this is also the most improbable thing ever. Basically, since 2022, they've always won alternating sets. Wham, VortiX, Wham, VortiX, Wham, VortiX. Last one that they've played, it was a reverse draft show match, and Wham won that. So if the trend continues, VortiX is the one favored for tomorrow.
Oh, interesting. Stats don't lie. We'll have to see if they can actually stick to the script or if things are going to be flipped. If you guys want to catch those matches, by the way, they will be kicking off same time as today, tomorrow on Sunday, where we will see who will make it through quite swiftly into our semi-finals.